Hi everyone and welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
I'm Leah.
And today we're going to be talking about a fun game that you can play with friends and family for a whole evening. It's an interesting kind of role-playing game. Have you ever done any kind of role-playing games?
I've always wanted to. My mom used to make role-playing games for me for my birthday parties when I was a kid. And we even have an old video from when I was about 14 where she created a whole murder mystery for the death of our pet cat. It wasn't the cat, like the stuffed animal cat. And it was so cool to look back on it. How about yourself?
Yeah, I've got a lot of role-playing game RPG experience. I started playing the famous one, Dungeons and Dragons, when I was about 14, 15, maybe something like that. Yeah. And I'd been playing other similar games beforehand, and so I've played all sorts. This kind of game we're going to read about today. I don't play them as much on computers because
they're fun in real life, aren't they?
I think again with my theatre background, I love the role playing aspect more than the combat and dice rolling aspect. I just like the role playing bit.
Well, with Dungeons and Dragons, you do have that dice rolling too.
Yes, it's
my
a
son
mix
and daughter play it as well.
I miss getting the chance to play it. It's definitely a lot of fun. But this game does involve no dice rolling. It involves just everybody playing a role as you try and work out the solution to a murder mystery over dinner, usually.
Dun, dun, dun.
So let's read through this article and find out more about it. One of us is a murderer. The terrifying thought fills your head. There's a corpse in the next room, and one of your fellow diners put it there. As the evening progresses, you learn disturbing secrets about everyone, and you're forced to confess to a few yourself. You all have motives for the crime, but who committed it? Fortunately, it's just a game. Murder mystery games are multiplayer role-playing games designed to be played over the course of an evening. The concept likely originated with wink murder, an amusing pastime that became popular in the early 1900s. In this game, a murderer kills victims by winking at them, while a detective tries to identify them before everyone dies. Things got more sophisticated with the wildly popular board game Cluedo, published in 1949. Here, players are guests at a house party and examine clue cards to figure out who assassinated their host. A murder mystery game takes these elements and expands them into a full role-playing experience. Participants are assigned characters prior to the evening and are encouraged to dress in appropriate costumes. Settings like 1930s Hollywood, mafia gatherings, or Victorian England are popular scenarios. During the game, players are given additional instructions concerning what evidence or secrets they may disclose. In this way, all the clues are slowly revealed as the players work out the solution. Along the way, they have fun betraying, deceiving, and arguing with each other. Murder mystery games make for memorable evenings that leave people eager for another go. So we have a pretty interesting start to this article. One of us is a murderer.
It's not me. Not me.
No. Well, who knows? Obviously, a murderer is somebody who has murdered another person. They have, killed them illegally with malice, with kind of evil intentions. Not in a war, not in an accident, nothing like that. You've thought, I'm going to kill this person, and you've killed them. So therefore, you are a murderer.
You've taken a life.
Exactly. So, and in this case, one of us is a murderer. So the person thinking this thought, the use of italics like this kind of sideways font, often means this is a thought that somebody is having.
It's also a good way to emphasize things a lot of times.
if you read most novels and books, you'll see this kind of font usually indicates a character's thoughts.
Okay.
So.
And the thought what? It's a terrifying thought that fills your head. Oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm terrified. I'm so scared that I am full of terror. I almost cannot move. I'm so scared. There's a corpse in the next room, and one of your fellow diners put it there. The word corpse means a body, a dead body. And watch out, if you take that R out of the word, it becomes a copse, which is a group of small trees. Don't do that.
Very different.
That's not a dead body if you're trying to use that word. But there's a corpse. Where? It's in the next room. This is the setting behind the game we're talking about.
And the other part of the setting, it's one of your fellow diners has put it there, in other words, is the killer. So, and that's, so we are implying here that this is a dinner party. You know, it's like a Agatha Christie kind of story where everybody at the table, like, everyone's sitting down, everyone's got a reason to do it. Who's the killer? Who's going to work it out? It's that kind of situation.
And that sentence actually makes you immediately nervous or puts you on edge when you hear that, doesn't it?
Yeah. So as the evening progresses, you learn disturbing secrets about everyone, and you're forced to confess to a few yourself. So yeah, as people talk to each other, as you look at the evidence around this crime, you learn these disturbing secrets that they make you feel uncomfortable when you hear them, like, oh my god, you did that happened to you, like you and him and her, like all of these things that they're not nice secrets. They're not just like, oh, I had a crush on this pop star when I was a kid. This is like, you did that, oh my goodness. You
kept putting popsicles in your sister's bed and it melted. That would be disturbing. It's not a nice thing to do. Not from personal knowledge, I'm saying. You all have motives for the crime, but who committed it? So you all have reasons for wanting to, in this case, commit murder, but who committed it? Who caused it? Who did it?
Fortunately, it's just a game.
Oh, okay, I can relax. Whew.
Yeah, but this is how these games are played. There's basically, everybody's got these characters and they've all got secrets that they will reveal or get revealed about them. And they've all got reasons for killing the dead person. And the aim of the game is to figure out what the solution is by the end of the evening.
Right, you're supposed to use your critical analysis and go, this person couldn't have done it because at 9 o'clock they were in the kitchen making apple pie. So we can rule him out. You know, it's kind of like doing a big logic puzzle if you've ever done those. Yeah. I absolutely love those.
Yeah, or it's like you are in one of these Agatha Christie stories and you are the detective or the detective's helper. Of course, you might realize that it's you at the end.
Oh my.
Like one of the people will be the killer. So, and it's what's called a murder mystery game. So it's a multiplayer role-playing game designed to be played over the course of an evening. Multiplayer just means many people can play. Normally, when I've seen these games, you need at least 6. And I think it's either 8 or 10 is about as many as you can have before it gets too complicated.
You need a lot of personalities in there, but not too many because it makes the story more interesting and not too simple.
Yeah, and you play it during the course of an evening. And the reason they've got mealtime, the word mealtime is in the title, is that these games are actually designed for people to kind of meet and gather. They kind of play the first part of the game. They'll often listen to like a CD or a recording. Then they will have maybe a meal, then they'll play part 2, they might have then like drinks and a dessert, and then they'll kind of finish it off after that and everyone goes home.
And the role-playing part of it is that you're kind of given these roles to play when you come in to play the game. You're like, maybe you're a 50-year-old woman who's come to England from America and it's your first visit, and that's your role that you will play throughout the night. So you'll have a little bit of a character that you will be playing while you're also trying to figure out who done it.
So we learn a bit about the history here of the game.
And the concept likely originated with wink murder, which is an amusing pastime that became popular in the early 1900s. So the concept of the murder mystery dinner, this multiplayer game, well, it likely originated, it started with wink murder. To wink is when you flirt with somebody, you close one eye quickly and maybe give a little smile. That action of closing one eye, not 2 2 eyes, which is a blink. 1 eye, close it, open it again. That's a wink.
Yeah, it's usually a secret gesture that's aimed at just 1 or 2 people.
Right.
And so that's why it was used in this game. And it's an amusing pastime. It's a way to pass the time. It's a fun thing to do. It's just a nice little game, nothing too serious. Now, in this game, a murderer, and we put this in inverted commas because no one's really dying, kills victims by winking at them while a detective tries to identify them before everyone dies. Now, when I used to play this game at school, you'd have everybody standing in a circle, the teacher facing inwards, there'd be 1 or 2 detectives in the middle of the circle who can turn around and look at everybody, and the teacher will go around the outside of the circle and tap someone on the back. And that person is the killer. So
kind of
only
like Duck, Duck, Goose.
Yeah, so only they will know that they're the killer.
And that's the one person that will be selected through the whole game for that round.
For that round, yeah.
Okay.
So the killer then has to try and wink at people when the detective's back is turned to kill them. The person who dies then usually falls over, big dramatic scream, and the detective then turns around like, oh, okay, they're over there somewhere. And they have to see if they can spot somebody who's winking before all the other people are like pretend dead.
This sounds like a fun game.
It is, yeah, it's great fun. The detective, of course, a detective is somebody who investigates crimes, looks into disappearances. You can have police detectives if their job is to investigate things, not just ride around in the police car. And you can have private detectives like Sherlock Holmes, Poirot, and others who are asked to investigate crimes by finding clues, talking to people, working out the solution.
And things got more sophisticated with the wildly popular board game Cluedo, published in 1949. So things got more developed. If you're more sophisticated, you're more developed than you were before. It's not as basic. It's just a little bit more complex. With the wildly popular, it wasn't just popular, it was wildly popular. It's fun to say it that way.
Still is.
Extremely popular. Yeah, that's true. Board game Cluedo. In America, it is called Clue. Has a couple of different words. Instead of the wrench, instead of the spanner in England, it's the wrench in America, and Miss Scarlet is spelled differently, and the person who dies has a different name.
I think in the UK it's Dr. Black.
Yeah, and I think in America it's Mr. Body, but I have to say I've never seen that before.
Yeah, but everyone, you move pieces around a board, and as you move to certain areas, you can look at cards, and you gradually work out, okay, who killed the Mr. Dr. Black in which room using which weapon. And you do that by finding out like what cards everybody else has.
And you've got a little piece of paper where you can mark off what you figured out. That it's the logic game again, like you were saying.
So it's more complicated than Wink Murder, but doesn't involve that much role-playing. It's mostly a dice and kind of logic game. But as the article says here, players are guests at a house party. That's the setup for the board game. And examine clue cards, which maybe have a suspect or a weapon on, to figure out who assassinated their host. To assassinate somebody is to kill somebody, usually for money or because you could have been paid to do it, or it could be for a personal or a government reason, like this person is being killed. We often mean it in a professional way. It can also just be used as a synonym for killed or murdered.
You can also assassinate someone's image or their character, and that just means to kind of kill it, to say bad things about them and make them look really, really bad.
An assassin is the person that does this, usually a professional killer.
That's correct, and they assassinate.
Okay, we're going to take a short break now. We'll hand over to our Chinese teacher, and we'll come back in a moment to explore more about the actual murder mystery game.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天要带大家来玩一个游戏，可是这个游戏很好玩哦，是一个推理的游戏。到底是谁杀的？人谁杀的？好，现在有一个 scenario 情境是这样子的，其中有一个人就是凶手，因为隔壁的房间有一个尸体，然后呢，跟你同桌共餐的人就把它摆在那边，但是每一个人都有可能是凶手，到底人是谁杀的？好，那这个游戏好玩在你一定是要真人扮演哦，而且它可以在一个晚上啊就把这个游戏玩完了，然后你还要稍微呢这个装扮一下自己的角色。 所以它跟传统的桌游不一样的地方，它就是真人在玩的，感觉起来真的蛮有趣的耶。不过这篇文章我们设计成课漏字啦，所以还是要来看一下怎么样解这5题。像在第一段我们刚刚讲说这个 scenario， OK， 你隔壁房间有一个尸体，你们都有可能是 murderer， 到底是谁呢？到底是谁怎样？请看第2段最后一句 But who 什么 it， 重点在逗点前面有一个字叫做 crime， 你们都有这个动机犯这个杀人罪，但是 who 什么 it， 谁杀了这个人？你一定会很想要选一个 kill 这个字，对不对？没有。好，我们接下来就看第一题 A 的 investigate 是调查，这个 B 第一题的这个 B 呢则是 witness 亲眼目击。 C 的 commit 其实有2个意思哦，一犯罪的犯，二就是承诺哦，你这个承诺一定要做到某一件事情，用 commit。 那最后 D 的答案的 prevent 则是预防的意思。所以如果逗点前面重点的关键字是 crime， 当然要搭配犯罪的犯 C 啦。好，那接下来我们就看到在文章第3段刚好只有1句了哦，好险，这是一个游戏，不是真的有人怎么杀了人了。接下来第4段呢，我们就来看一下，这是一个叫做剧本杀谋杀的这个谜戏呀，就是游戏谋杀的谜游戏。好，这个中文叫做剧本杀，它其实就是设计在一个晚上可以进行的多人的 RPG。 我觉得这个角色扮演 RPG 可以把它记一下，在第4段第1句的地方，这个 RPG 啊就叫角色扮演，有些喜欢打电动的这个读者可能都知道。那 RPG 其实在英文就是 role play game， 好，role play game， 当然你可以写成复合形容词 role playing games， 像我们在第4段第1句这边看到的 role playing games， 扮演角色的游戏。不过在这边有一个关系子句的简化，后面的 designed 一直到句尾可以先左右括号，它少的是关系词 which 或者是 that 跟 be 动词的 are， 那被设计来是要如何的关系子句的简化。好，所以这个概念呢，其实它是源自于一个叫做扎眼谋杀的一种很趣味的消遣活动啦。什么样的消遣活动呢？因为刚好出现在第2题，所以我们第2题先看一下。 A 是具有说服力的，因为说服别人叫做 persuade， P-E-R-S-U-A-D-E persuade。 那 B 这个 amusing 呢，它也有一个动词原形哦，叫做 amuse， A-M-U-S-E， 就是使对方开心，使某人感到很娱乐很开心的意思。 C 的 spare 当动词的话就有挪用啊，省下来啊，比如说省钱要做什么啊，省一些时间来做什么， spare time spare money。 而这个 D 的这个 nutritious 则是很营养的。如果用来修饰第2题后面的 pastime， 就是消遣啊，我们平常做的娱乐或者是消遣，它应该是怎么样呢？根据上下文，当然起源于这样子的一个游戏消遣，应该会选择一个比较正面的，所以只有 B 是比较合适的 amusing pastime。那当然在这边后面有一个关系子句了，没有任何简化，从 that 一直到句尾的地方。好，那在这个游戏当中呢，总而言之就是有一个凶手，这个扎眼谋杀呢，就是有一个凶手透过对受害者扎眼，把他们先杀死，然后另外一个侦探呢，就试图在每一个人都死之前呢，辨识出他们的身份。后来就在1949年呢，有一个桌游叫做妙探寻凶推出之后，情节就变得很复杂咯。所以在这个游戏当中，玩家就是一个家庭聚会的客人，透过检验线索卡来找出到底是谁杀了他们的主人。不过我们在第4段这个地方还是要特别注意一下，第4段的这最后一句倒数第2句这个地方，就是第4句的地方，也有一个关系子句的简化。关系子句的简化先行词是逗点之前 The wildly popular board game Cluedo， 逗点之后才出现了 which was 的省略 published in 1949， 所以它简化的是 which 跟 was， 也是一个被动式概念。 的一个关系子句简化，跟刚刚我们第4段第1句这边是相同，但是唯一不同的就是打了逗点之后呢，其实它是补充说明的性质比较多，而不是限定的用法。好，最后面我们在第5句就看到了第3题咯，什么 assassinated their host？ 当然根据上下文我们就是要判断出到底是谁杀了他们的主人，所以就算你不懂得 assassinate 这个字暗杀，大概也可以判断出来，就是我们要找出凶手是谁嘛，找出凶手是谁，所以根据文意第3题答案选 C， 答案选 C， 因为我们不知道是谁，要找出 who did something。We'll
take a short break and then we'll be right back with our article.
Before we continue on into our article, I have to ask you, did you have any murder mystery games, like board games that you played as a kid that were your favorite?
We had Cluedo. My dad would always win because he's very, very logical. I have played a couple of these murder mystery games. I remember doing one that was set in kind of like 1930s Hong Kong kind of thing. And there was a few other role-playing games. There's like a Dungeons & Dragons version where it's not about killing monsters and getting treasure, but more like finding out a mystery kind of thing. I've played a couple of Sherlock Holmes like board games and card games, which have got the same kind of thing.
Where you have to like probably guess from a sentence in the book or something.
Yeah,
like
find clues, put everything together, use a bit of logic.
My favorite was called Stop Thief, and it was such a cool thing. It had this little. It was like one of the first games that had a machine with it.
Yeah.
And you would hear the windows breaking.
Yep.
You'd hear the steps the thief was taking. And you had to figure out where he'd run to.
Yeah, I've got that.
And it wasn't a murder mystery, but maybe he committed a murder or maybe he'd stolen some things.
Yeah.
And today we have things like from Jackbox. If you've ever played Jackbox on your Switch, they have a trivia murder party, which is kind of fun. And another one that I've played before is called Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Yep,
and you build the board as you play it. And you have a lot of different murder mystery varieties. So every game is different.
Yeah.
Going into our article.
So this one, a murder mystery game, this particular kind, takes these elements, meaning the clues, meaning the guests at a house party, somebody's dead in that group, it has to be one of the characters, those are what we mean by elements, and expands them into a full role-playing experience. So what we mean here is instead of just controlling a counter on a board, the players are in the game, they're answering the questions, they're asking the questions.
Right.
They are playing the role as if they were these characters and it was all real.
This seems to me actually more complicated than Cluedo or something like that, because you have that three-dimensional aspect of it. It's happening in real life, even though it's not real. Participants are assigned characters prior to the evening and are encouraged to dress in appropriate costumes. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. You're given a role. And who's given a role? Well, participants, the people who participate in the thing, who take part in the murder mystery event. And they are assigned, they are given, they are told what characters they will be, and they are given that before the evening, prior to the evening when they will have their murder mystery event, and then they have to dress in appropriate costumes.
Yeah.
So in proper outfits, the right things.
That's part of the fun, the dressing up and giving a kind of a theme and a feel to the evening. So often they come in like usually like a boxed set, which has got like all the clues that you'll find. It's got the setup and it's got like an invitation card. So you send out an invitation, come to dinner.
Right.
This is your character. Here are some things you know already.
Right.
Here are some suggestions for how to act or what you can wear. It's all flexible. You can kind of do other stuff with it. But they'll usually have maybe it's 3 male characters, 3 female characters, then 2 that can be either.
Okay.
Kind of thing. And you kind of figure out who would be good as this character. You might ask, who would you like to play?
So the person who is hosting the party would make that decision, would send out the invites and say, this is who you're going to be.
So, and there are a lot of these box sets because you can kind of set this up in different kind of, we call it settings. Settings like 1930s Hollywood, mafia gatherings, or Victorian England are popular scenarios. So
1930s Hollywood, you can wear a flapper dress with all the
a few gangsters, private detectives, that kind of thing.
Fun.
Mafia is, of course, the organized crime in Italy, Sicily, and in a lot of the States. Yeah. So a mafia gathering is when you've got a whole bunch of mafia characters getting together, like the boss is dead.
The made men.
Yeah, so everyone's a criminal, but who killed the old boss, the Godfather? And Victorian England, so that would be a classic kind of Sherlock Holmes, something like that kind of setting up.
There you go.
So you can imagine the kind of roles that people get. And those are scenarios. Those are situations. That's the scene of the play, of the crime, of the game.
And they get that all before the game starts.
Exactly.
But during the game, players are given additional instructions concerning what evidence or secrets they may disclose. So maybe they're told as the game goes on, you know this bit of information and you can tell everybody. So you can disclose it. You can tell everybody. And what are you disclosing? What are you letting everybody know? Well, you're letting them know a secret that might give them a hint as to who done it. Or you might also have a piece of evidence that you have found. Maybe you found the wrench or the spanner, as we can call it, and that would be a piece of evidence.
Yeah, evidence, of course, is a fact that could lead you to the solution. It could prove something to be true or not true. And so, normally this game happens in maybe 3 rounds.
Right.
So after round 1, you'll have everything you started with. And round 2, you'll get maybe another piece of paper or a card. And it will say, you can ask this person about this. Or if you are asked about this, you must admit this.
It's also kind of like the escape rooms that we go and pay for and get into these days. If you don't have time to set up this full party, which seems like it would be a lot of fun, you can also go to an escape room and try something there.
So, and you get facts that you have to say in certain circumstances, but like how you do it and when you do it is all down to the role playing of the characters.
Okay.
Like if no one asks you that question, then you don't have to tell anyone the secret. So if you're the killer, and you usually will know by the end of the game, usually at the start of the final round, the killer will be told it's you.
Okay.
And that's the point where you have to really be careful about how you answer questions and what you say.
Right.
Because you won't know up until then.
I wonder if the host can ever also be the killer. It would seem like it'd be a little bit difficult because you're doing all the planning.
Yeah, the host is usually
the game master, right?
the
dungeon master.
The one who's planning and revealing it. So normally the host they may have a character so they can role play, like a butler or someone.
It's fun.
But they won't have all the same set of secrets.
Okay.
So because they'll have to know in the end what happens. They'll have read all the information.
Or you get your friend to be your additional host, and then you can also be the murderer if they choose you.
Yeah, you could do it that
way. Please!
So the article continues, in this way, all the clues are slowly revealed as the players work out the solution. So you don't have all the information together at the start. You give people a bit of a break to talk about what they think is going on, and they can accuse each other and all of this sort of stuff, and really role play the characters. And the host can also kind of like, okay, you guys are maybe going a bit too long.
Right.
Let's sort of bring things back and let's sort of focus on the game and keep things running.
And you might have your character who's creating drama, like telling stories and not telling the truth of their character or something like that, just to add some complexity to it as well. So that could also be fun.
Yeah, as it says, along the way, meaning during the game, the players, have fun betraying, deceiving, and arguing with each other. So they will lie to each other. They'll try and trick each other. They'll make arguments. No, it's you. You said this. They'll betray each other, like you reveal a secret about the person who you're supposed to be friends with.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Instead, you're betraying them, or you're making it look like they're the murderer.
Yeah.
Murder mystery games make for memorable evenings that leave people eager for another go. I can imagine this would be true. It's an awful lot of fun to do this, and you can imagine that you get done with the night, you've had a great time, and for the next 5 or 6 months you remember this night because it was very memorable. It was a memorable evening, and I would want to do it again. I'd be ready for another go, another try,
different scenario, different kind of setup, and so on. So that brings us to the end of our article. We'll hand over once more to our Chinese teacher now, and then we'll be back to wrap things up.
那接着剧本杀呢，就是把所有刚刚讲的元素 就扩展成一个很完整的角色扮演的体验。所以晚会之前呢，就是要玩游戏之前就分配好角色哦，然后可以穿合适的衣服啊，然后可以有一些场景啊都相当欢迎，不管是什么1930的好莱坞啦、黑手党聚会啊、维多利亚时代啊，这些都 OK。那我们就看到第四题有4个字 ，A 的 decoration 是装饰 ，B 的 guidelines 则是一些引导。好，那 C 的 regulation 呢，则是一些规则，而 D 的 settings 则是一些场景。那第4题呢，什么 like？这里的 like 就不是喜欢呢，而是像是什么什么的那一些地方，然后呢就非常的受欢迎，是受欢迎的 scenario。第4题应该推测得出是一些地点，那一些场景，所以答案选 D。可是你大概想说 setting 跟这句话最后一个字的 scenario 有什么差别啊？通常 setting 就是已经是指那个地方整个的布置，那 scenario 则指的是一个我们在写脚本的时候整个的情境怎么样，我们就会写 scenario 这个字是最精准的。好，最后面我们就看到第5题咯。第5题考一个片语，因为我们在后面呢看到的是不知道什么东西 They have fun betraying， 大家就很开心啊，在欺骗啊，然后背叛啊，然后在想说谁是凶手啊，所以整个的游戏过程第5题选 A along the way 是比较合适的。寒假如果有空的话，或许可以找同学一起玩看看这个游戏哦。我是安娜，我们下次见。
So there we go. That is our article on murder mystery games. Now you can find I'm sure a lot of this stuff is online these days, or
absolutely.
You can buy a game as an app that'll have everything you need to play it. So, go ahead, have it, get it, do it and try it out. Have some fun.
You can try the Jackbox game too on the Switch. It's an awful lot of fun with the murder mysteries, and they're kind of scary though, which is the thing. I hope some of these murder mysteries are not too scary.
Yeah, but if you're into role-playing, if you're into detective and mystery stories, then you will have a lot of fun with this. But that's all the time we have. Thanks for listening, everybody. For English Digest, I'm Pat.
I'm Leah.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
See you later.